and welcome to the DJ Force 10 in Conversation podcast, episode 114. My special guests on today's show are Ian and Gerry from the band Shattered Skies. They've got a new single out right now called Born from Solder. Go check that out. Like I said before in my other shows, stop the podcast now, go check that song out and come back afterwards if you like what you hear. Or if you want to hear them chat, stick around for the next couple of minutes. I'll start that interview shortly. I just want to throw out a few thank yous to everyone that's been listening to the show over the past couple of weeks, where I've been sort of releasing them day by day. I have noticed an uptake on my server, and a lot of people are listening, which is absolutely fantastic, and I love it. Thank you. Please let me know if you've discovered anything new from the show as well. I would love to hear. That's the kind of feedback I want. Just to say, look, I listened to your show and I checked out this band and I really like it, something like that. But hit me up on the socials. I'm around everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Actually, I think that's it. Or YouTube as well. I'm on there. And Twitch as well, but you can't really leave comments on there. But yeah, just do check that out. I am going to be live streaming, just to let you know as well, live streaming DJ sets from my Twitch channel. In fact, it's twitch.tv/DJForceX. So please go and subscribe to that to find out when I'm going live. I've got no sort of planned dates at the moment, but I did a broadcast on Friday, and it went well. I didn't lose connection. Obviously, you get to stare at me looking at turntables for a bit. But I'm playing rock, metal, dance music, all that kind of stuff, just for listening pleasure. I'm not doing it for any sort of gain or anything like that. It's just more for people to have something to do. But I'm going to start doing it maybe on weeknights, because the weekends seem to be filling up with various things of various people live streaming and stuff. But if that's something you're interested in, do hit me up on the socials, and I'll go ahead and do that. But also as well, to help out this show and help out the bands you're listening to, if you could go to where you get your podcast from, so be it Apple Podcasts, be it Spotify, be it Stitcher, be it Google Play, YouTube, I was wondering if you could leave a review, a rating even, just to help these shows go up the totem pole, if you will, of like the charts that they have for podcasts and stuff, because that will help the bands that we're listening to right now. It kind of makes it well, it doesn't kind of make it anything. It makes it better for the bands and also myself, not going to lie, because obviously it can attract more guests, and more sort of guests with bigger profiles, stuff like that, which also help the sort of smaller starting out bands, and also the mid-level bands and stuff like that. But if you can do that, that'd be great. If you don't worry about it. Continue listening to the show. As long as you're enjoying what you're hearing, that's awesome. But anyway, I'm going to leave you now with Ian and Gerry from Shattered Skies. Enjoy. Welcome to the show, Ian and Gerry from Shattered Skies. How you guys doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, man.
Cool. I'm good.
I'm good.
Here. Excellent. Lockdown not getting you down then?
Yeah, we're just trying to maintain morale through that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of stuff you can do in the middle of that. It's not the end of the world.
No, not yet. Anyway. So, what have you guys been up to? Like, obviously, because you're not out playing, but what have you kind of been doing with yourselves?
So that's been the big question, right? Gigs had to stop, but we're still plugging ahead on the next album.
Okay, cool.
So we put out that first single, "Born of Solder."
Yep.
And the whole idea was to wrap that up with gigs and everything and push for the next single to bring it out for the album. A lot of that's written, right?
Yep.
So it's all about trying to adapt and see how we can do that push in this weird, crazy world we find ourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Our first gig of the tour is supposed to be tomorrow. So that's not happening.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, we put the single out. Thankfully, that got a pretty good response in the midst of everything. But yeah, we're just kind of continuing to record, finish off the new stuff.
Cool.
We'll keep cracking on, trying to put out like video content online and just try and keep up whatever we can sort of do.
Yeah.
In the current situation.
Cool. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I've spoken to a few bands already, and a lot of them are kind of like finding it quite almost a blessing. In as much as they're getting a lot of the other stuff done, stuff that you would kind of want to sort of like eventually give to someone else, like all the admin or social media or whatever. But they're actually having time to do that, and obviously like yourselves as well, like honing an album, writing, because obviously this time is very different for everyone, so the inspiration for everything is going to be totally different.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you mentioned your single, Born of Solder. Tell us a bit about that, really. I really dig it, to be honest with you. I did catch you guys live last year as well. I was
nice.
I was at Radar Festival.
Cool.
In Guildford. Yeah, and I was DJing the after parties as well. So I was there all day.
Nice.
No, I really enjoyed you guys. I really loved the kind of like the sort of progressive side of things, and especially when you involve synths and stuff like that, it really hones my interest on that front.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I just want to say you guys were awesome live. But let's get back to your single, as I totally deflected from it. Yeah, just tell us about the single.
Appreciate it. Cool. Well, it was. I started writing it about a year ago, I guess. It's sort of hopefully a progression from where we've been going, but just a bit more. We're just trying to push everything further. So the proggy stuff is proggier, the synth stuff is synthier, the heavy parts are heavier. I think conceptually it came from this idea that I just had that's not an entirely unique idea. I know there's been lyrics done about it before, of just the concept of someone wanting to effectively sort of merge with technology, sort of replace parts of themselves with technology because they've grown weary of the sort of fallibility of the human form and all that kind of concepts, which kind of came out of just how the music was coming together. When the synths and stuff started to go onto it, it felt very almost retro-futuristic and kind of technological. So we just kind of built the lyrics from there, and then instrumentally wise, it was just me messing around with some really weird guitar approaches. I don't use a plectrum for like most of the song, so it's just got kind of an unorthodox guitar approach to it, which sounds unusual.
Yeah,
it came across, Ian started writing that, putting that sort of stuff together, and each sort of layer that got added on was another step in that direction, trying to take things a little bit further each time. The sort of solo, if you want to call it that, towards the back half is just one of the weirdest things he's ever written.
That's true.
But it gave a really cool feel to the song, and that whole technological vibe. It almost came out sort of preachy in the end, which I think is always a powerful thing for a band to do, right? Is to take on that kind of preacher vibe.
Yeah, definitely, and with that sort of concept as well, it's certainly something that people are, thinking about, I guess, when it comes to like merging yourself, because a lot of people do live them. They're already there. They kind of live in technology, already. But no, that sounds really cool. It sounds like kind of a progressive Fear Factory, if you will.
Yeah, it was that. Yeah, I mean, Obsolete's one of my favorite albums of all time. So cool. I have no doubt that was a factor in more ways than one.
Excellent. No, that sounds really cool. I really look forward to that. Have you got any kind of obviously everything's gone to shit right now, but what was the sort of general plan for the album release? What sort of dates were you looking at?
We hadn't gotten that far really. The idea this year was we are ultimately aiming towards an album. We've got like about 95% of it written, I think. Okay. But the idea we kind of wanted to do this year was to put out a few singles, and just sort of do some shows and kind of build up a bit of momentum slowly. Because I think with the last record, we were a bit too we were quite inactive for a while, and then we kind of just dump the album out without a lot of build up. And this time around, we kind of want to build a bit more slowly to it with a few singles. So yeah, we didn't have a timeline, but whatever vague timeline we were starting to work towards has been messed with a bit. I think the initial idea was we're supposed to be going to the US this year for the first time to play Proud Power USA in Atlanta, if it happens in September. Who knows? The idea was because that's kind of taking up a lot of logistical and even just financial time for us to even sort of pull it all off.
Yeah.
So once that's done with, then we probably kind of hit the ground running, working on the album pretty hard from there. But yeah, in terms of release, no idea. As soon as possible.
The aim was to get, at least a second single out prior to that, prior to September. Yeah. We're still hopeful for that. We got to kind of, I guess, read the audience a little bit as things develop now. But the music's there, and it's building up. It's waiting to be heard. Excellent.
That's good to hear. Because I really enjoyed Muted Neon as well. I after I saw you guys at Radar Fest, it was a couple of weeks later, I think. I started listening to more bands from there, and obviously came across your album at that point. And I have. I'm sorry, I think the Fall from Disgrace.
Oh yeah.
It's on one of my regular kind of like playlists.
Nice.
And I DJ out, I play rock clubs and stuff like that, and I usually drop a lot of the sort of progressive stuff on the warm-up side of things. So it's like you guys, Tesseract, stuff like that, nice. Stuff that, later on, because everyone just wants new metal later on. So
inevitably just Limp Bizkit and Korn.
It's pretty much it. They get a few drinks in them, and they want to be teenagers again. So, which is fair enough, as long as people are dancing, But no, I really enjoyed that. And is it Makata Map? Is that how?
That's.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did, yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
Nailed it.
I haven't been calling that the wrong song in like a good few months then, so it's good.
Yeah, I didn't know how to pronounce it. That was actually our bassist Chris joined kind of during the making of the album.
Okay.
And that was the first song he wrote for the band. So he kind of put that together while we were recording the album. Basically, that song kind of came along.
Basically, did all the guitar, all the bass, pretty much all the composition. I put down the vocals. I think Ian, you still did the synth on that one, though, right?
Yeah. The synth was all me. Chris was basically the main writer on that one, which was cool because we've never had a writing bassist in the band before. So it was really cool that he came in and immediately wrote a song that ended up as being one of the strongest songs on the album.
I was going to say, it's very rare to get a writing bassist.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically he's a guitarist, I suppose. He basically took up bass to join the band.
Oh, okay.
And to be fair, he's becoming a very good bassist. Like he's definitely taken that aspect of it seriously. But he writes on guitar, which kind of has led to an unusual setup we're going to do for the next record. I basically pitched the idea to him because I've been a bassist longer than I've been a guitarist.
Okay.
Kind of the opposite to Chris, our bassist. So I basically said to him for writing for the next record, I was like, well, how about whichever of us writes the guitar parts on the song actually is the guitarist on that track, and we'll swap instruments. So 3/almost 4 tracks on the next album, as the track list currently stands, will likely be ones that Chris actually plays guitar on and I'll be playing bass. And we'll do that live as well. So that doesn't make for a different thing. It's just he's a very different player to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes the stuff that he writes, I really struggle to comfortably play, or I have to kind of adjust it to suit my style. And I'd rather he just felt free to just write whatever.
Yeah.
So kind of just letting him loose on this album to actually play a fair bit of guitar. And it just makes it interesting. There's not many bands in this genre who will swap instruments on stage for songs and stuff. So it just makes it.
I was going to say that's one of it's like you don't see that too often or at all, really. Like swapping like major instruments like that. But that's really cool because obviously you're letting each other reach the sort of like potential of creativity that way. So he's not holding back because of your style and vice versa. That's really cool. That's really cool. You have that kind of setup going.
Yeah, we've always wanted to be like, obviously I'm out of myself and Chris and Gerry as well. Myself and our drummer Ross are the longest serving members, and when the band first started, it was very much me writing 90 to 95% of the music. But the further we've gone on, my goal was always to have as collaborative a band as possible.
Yeah.
Ross became more of a writer. He actually wrote like the main riffs on Fall from Disgrace, for example, that were written by the drummer. It's just anytime someone new has joined, like in both Gerry and Chris's cases, one of the main aspects that we were most excited about is the fact that they write, because our first singer wasn't a writer, and Gerry's written a lot on Muted Neon and on the new stuff. So, and now having Chris writing, it's gone from basically being me writing most stuff to it being a very collaborative kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's good because like you can get very controlling over it, like when you are the sort of main songwriter in a project. That's really good. You're able to open up and allow the other guys in the band to really like push themselves, which is
absolutely
really cool.
Yeah. It makes it more exciting to be in the band as well, and you get to go on stage and play stuff that you've had a hand in writing. I've never been like, I totally respect and understand the Devin Townsend / the Trent Reznor approach where, it's all their vision and they just basically hire guys to play. I get it. It was just growing up, that was never my thing. I always, I was super into Pantera and Korn and stuff like Dream Theater and all that kind of stuff. And they always seemed like bands that like different people wrote.
Yeah.
And that was a huge part of what just made it interesting to me, because I liked hearing even like, ooh, that riff sounds like more of that the bassist wrote that one. I can tell by his writing style. That kind of I've always really enjoyed that aspect of bands when they get collaborative like that. So the idea.
That's awesome. Cool. So you already mentioned a couple then, but I was just wondering where your sort of influences lie. I mean, I know we've already mentioned, you just said Pantera, Fear Factory, stuff like that, but are there any other sort of like players or anything like that you guys are like heavily influenced from?
I gotta pick the one that I always find it funny when it comes up. There's two bands that I called it straight away on the first one when I was joining, back in however many years ago that was. I said straight to Ian, I said, "Are you a Static X fan?" Because I can hear a load of that in there. He was like, "Oh yeah, I absolutely love it." So that was a massive one.
Cool. How did you feel about that? I don't know if you went to go see it. What was it called? The Resurgence tour or the Regeneration? Sorry.
No, I didn't see it. Did you?
It's so surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was weird. It was like I'm doing all the sort of like looking at all the promo for it and everything, and seeing this guy in a mask, but then Wayne Static's face projected on that mask. And it was a little weird. I kind of like, I get why they did it to a certain degree, but it was just strange.
I couldn't get that back when they did holographic Tupac. I couldn't get that out of my head.
Yeah. I'd have almost respected it more if they'd have just gone and done a tour with whoever that guy is, just being himself and just being like, "Hey, this guy sings Static X stuff really well. Yeah. We're gonna tour Static X stuff." Because I've watched live footage. He sounds great. So it's like, well, then just sort of do some stuff with him, and if you guys can write anything half decent, go for it. Like I respect that there's three of them there that were in Static X for many years. They deserve to be able to go out and tour with the name of it. Yeah. But yeah, the whole sort of overdoing it of the Wayne thing is a little eerie.
What's that guy's name again? I would definitely watch more with. I'd listen to more with him on the track.
What guy?
The guy doing Wayne Static.
He's got a stage name of like Zero or something, doesn't he, with an X? But I don't know what.
Wasn't he the singer, or didn't they think he was the singer from Dope?
Yeah, and then the guy from Doug came in and said it's not him.
Yeah.
Which could either be him and throwing out a red herring, like maybe it is him and he's just saying that. But yeah,
Ian, was it you?
Yeah, it was me. This whole time. It was me, Austin.
Exclusive right here. It was.
Yeah, no, they were always the thing with the way Shattered Sky is kind of structured sound wise. It's like different aspects have been influenced by different things.
Yeah.
Like the synths and the kind of industrial side is Static X, Fear Factory, Rammstein, KMFDM, Nine Inch Nails, all that sort of super industrial dance metal kind of thing. Then we've got the proggy stuff, which is stuff like Dream Theater, even stuff like Nightwish, Rush, Pain of Salvation, proggy stuff. And then there's just the heavy, chuggy, angry side, which is, Meshuggah, Pantera, Metallica, Mudvayne, Korn, all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of, and then vocally, I don't know what else you were getting. There's a bit of power metal in there. There's a bit of, prog, melodic stuff, indie stuff. I don't even know.
Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, a bit of Alanis.
I was going to get onto that cover in a minute. No, I was just going to comment on the vocal style because, like you said, you mentioned the power metal, the part in there, and that's the kind of vibe I got off of a lot of the stuff that I listened to you guys on. And I was just wondering if that was a thing for you, Gerry.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of theatrical stuff to it. Not going through full Andrew Lloyd Webber, but there's definitely a side of that there, and it's trying to get to the prog side of power metal,
Yeah.
So I've always liked that. I mean, I was a fan of Dream Theater growing up, and as much as I am into the heavier side, and I had different influences from there as well. I thought it just suits the Shattered Skies sound a bit more to have that over the top, especially if you're doing it alongside these really thick sort of 8-string sounds, and there's all sorts of synth layered in there. It wouldn't make sense to have a kind of a daintier voice on there. You need to really sort of push it.
Yeah. No, I think that's what kind of attracted me to you guys in as much as it was very different from a lot of the other bands of that kind of genre, that you had that style in there as well. Because I'm a fan of like progressive, like prog rock, prog metal. I've even had, like, not to name drop, I've had like guys from Yes and Asia and all the sort of like classic bands on my show, and speaking to them has been amazing. But no, I was just like, it was a really good mixture, because like you don't get, like, I've got a sort of like guilty pleasure when it comes to sort of power metal. Be it like a sort of like Stratovarius or something like that, the kind of like big epic kind of like sounding bands. But that's what I really liked about you guys as well. It was just you had that element to you. And that was really cool. I was just curious if that was a thing, and obviously it is. So
I grew up on one of the first bands I really got into that was doing like shreddy guitar and stuff was Sonata Arctica. So they were one, and then Stratovarius as well. But one of the things I always thought when I would listen to them was I'd love to hear them with like meatier riffs and like groovier drums. Sometimes I'd get a bit bored of the drums always being non-stop double kick, and the guitars are kind of just playing chords.
Yeah. And
then I'd be listening to metal, and a lot of the time I'd get a bit bored of everyone trying to sound like James Hetfield. So it's always that thing, I suppose, how a lot of bands start out is you can picture in your head what you'd love to hear a mixture of, and then you just kind of try and do that. That's kind of the main idea of how Shattered Skies came, with the sort of really heavy, aggressive, low-tuned, groove-based riffs, but then this really sort of power metal-y, dramatic, melodic vocal on top.
Yeah. Excellent, cool. So we kind of mentioned it a moment ago, but the Alanis Morissette cover you guys did. I only came across that today. To be honest with you. Yeah, I just started subscribing to one of the streaming services, so I was doing a deep dive because I've got your CD Muted Neon.
Oh, nice.
But I was just like curious where that what brought you to do that particular song.
So Okay, I remember how this started. I turned up to practice one day, and I said to Ian, it's really weird. I don't know why, but I've been on a binge of something lately musically. I've been listening to this person. You probably wouldn't expect it. And he just looked straight at me and he said, "Is it Alanis Morissette?" Because he'd been doing the exact same thing.
Okay.
And I cannot figure out, what kind of zeitgeist got into our minds that we both needed to go back and do a deep dive on her whole back catalogue.
I know, personally, I know where the motivation came from. I was watching The Trip, the show with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And there was some part of it was the one where they go to Italy and they were driving, and Brydon had said he brought CDs for the car, and Steve was like, ugh. And the first thing he puts on is the album Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette. And he puts it on and Steve's like, oh my God, this is the worst. I'm going to hate this drive. And then it hard cuts to them however many minutes later, both belting out that song. Like, there's one of those things where like you kind of scoff at Alanis Morissette until some of her songs come on. You kind of go, yeah, you know what? This is a banger, actually, now that I hear it.
Yeah.
And that song was on. And I was just like, man, I've never properly checked it out, but I've always liked singles that I heard. So that's how I ended up getting into it. And then by pure weird, because I never mentioned that to Gerry.
Yeah.
I don't think
I want two things on record here. One, I never saw The Trick. Maybe I should. And two, I would never scoff at Alanis Morissette.
You wouldn't dare.
I wouldn't dare. Yeah, no.
I don't.
Always been a big fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then that song just, it just made sense. It's always had this kind of unorthodox kind of groove to it. It's even in the right key to play on an 8-string, hilariously, which is a testament to Gerry. Actually, we didn't change the key when we recorded it, so he is singing the same notes as Alanis on the original. But I just, as soon as I heard it, I was like, man, I could totally hear that with just these meaty, angry riffs, kind of polyrhythmic, proggy riffs, and then get tapping and synths and all kind of weird shit. We could totally just put this through the Shattered Skies filter and it would work. So that's basically how it happened.
That's amazing. No, it's that whole Jagged Little Pill album is I think every song was released as a single, I think. And it was I remember at the time, like the chart was dominated by it. Like the album chart, it was there for however many weeks, it was months, and then every single was always in that sort of like top 20, top 10. It was crazy. And then
sounds like a good time.
Yeah, well, it's
a phenomenal album. It really is.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And she's doing a tour, or was doing a tour this year.
Yeah, she from the album, wasn't she?
Yeah. And look, really, I tried to get tickets, but they were really expensive. So,
yeah, I can imagine.
But my wife was fortunate enough to see her first time round when she came to England.
Oh, wow.
And her one of her teachers at school took her and a bunch of mates. It was
That's cool.
But yeah, no, she's got, because I think she knew Taylor Hawkins, who was a drummer. And I think they got tickets to the show that way. So
that's pretty sweet.
It's a nice little connection there, almost. But I've got a couple of questions left for you guys, and I can let you get off for the rest of the evening, if that's all right.
Our busy evening of sitting at home.
Yeah, sitting alone, twiddling your thumbs, whatnot. But these questions are sort of generated for like both of you individually. They're questions I ask sort of everyone that come on my show. They're my generic questions, if you will.
Sure.
But they're quite big at the same time. But what I want to know is your top 3 albums that have kind of molded the musician, kind of stroke person that you are today.
Ooh.
I know it's not tough. It's not a small question.
That's a tough
one. I'll start, Gerry. You can
go for it.
I would say Dream Theater, Train of Thought. I'm going to say 9 Inch Nails, The Fragile. And it's tough coming up with the last one, probably, I would say probably like Meshuggah Catch 33. If I'm just trying to think of like top three that molded like the initial way that I sort of write music, that's probably three good ones.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you. And Gerry?
Okay. I'm going to go... I know this one is on there, definitely. It's FRS by Ocean Size. They're a very cool post-rock band. Like narrowing it down, this is unbelievably difficult. I want you to appreciate how this list might change.
Go on then.
We'll probably go with Race Car is Race Car Backwards by Ruben.
Oh, wow. That's a pull.
And hey, they were a local band for me, man.
Yeah, same here.
I grew up in the area.
Are you from Hampshire?
I was for a fair while.
Yeah, I still, myself and Chris still live in Hampshire.
Oh, okay. I'm local to. Well, I was in Surrey. I was born in Aldershot. But yeah,
I was living in Farnham up until a month ago.
Oh, I lived in Farnham for about 30 odd years. I live in Camberley now. So.
Oh, nice. I'm in Alton, so I'm still.
I used to live in Camberley.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right, cool.
Yeah, we're all in that area. Yeah.
There you go.
You might know my band then that was around then.
Go on.
Oh, go on. I was in a band called Zero Cipher.
I think I may have seen you at the Edge.
Yeah, you probably did.
Now that's a throwback.
That's a hell of a throwback. That's a good 20 years ago. So.
I was in Ireland, very much in Ireland.
That old excuse. They always try that.
Nice.
Christ.
We need your third album, don't we?
Right, third album is going to be Internal Affairs by Pharaoh Monch, just to mix it up a little bit.
What shaped you into the musician you are today? You don't talk about titties very much on our albums.
I'm just saying, before I got into rock and metal, it was 90s hip hop, and can't give a formative albums list without putting something from the man himself.
Fantastic.
We both went to see him recently.
Oh, really?
That was the experience. Yeah, we went to the 20th anniversary of that album.
That's crazy.
It was insanely good. What a talented man, still.
That's excellent. Cool. Cool. Thank you for those. And finally, what are your hobbies away from music? What do you kind of do when you want to kind of either get away from it, or you've got have you got any sort of like long-standing hobbies?
I mean, definitely yes. Not cool ones, but I'll list them anyway.
Go for it.
I'm a big board game fan.
Cool.
I like to gamify things, Yeah. And very recently gotten into photography and film. So we'll see how that works out.
Cool. What's your favorite board game? Currently,
Gloomhaven is a good one. It's niche, but it's good.
Cool.
No, yeah, Gerry's very much the game enthusiast. He's roped us into quite a few board games over the years.
Perfect.
It's good for this sort of time, to be honest with you. Like with me and my family and everything, we've got a bunch of board games. I'm stocked up.
Yeah, to be fair, Gerry, you could probably entertain yourself for a decade with the games you have.
I haven't even noticed there's anything going on. Go on, Ian.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think the connection keeps coming and going. What am I? I'm definitely a big, sort of film and TV nerd, so there's a lot of that. I'm also, a stand-up comedy nerd. I'm very obsessive about that, so that takes up a lot of time, watching stand-up from different countries. Yeah, I don't really know. I was going to the gym pretty regularly. That had become, for the past year or so, that had become a hobby that I never really had, but can't really do that at the moment. So yeah, don't really have a huge amount I can do. But the film and TV thing works out pretty well when you're stuck in isolation.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a good thing to be into. So.
yeah. I could, like, if anyone is right now saying like, "Oh, I can't think of anything to watch," I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, there's just so much good stuff to watch if you look for it.
What sort of films are you into?
I don't have a preferred genre really. Just anything that's good, anything that's interesting. Like I'll watch more niche stuff. Like there's certain French films that I'm a big fan of, but at the same time, I quite enjoyed the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. So I'm not a snob by any stretch of the imagination, but it's kind of a combination of that. I watch a lot of TV, like sort of intense, dramatic stuff, like HBO shows like Barry. There's an Amazon show called Forever, which is really good.
Cool.
It's just a lot of stuff like that, and then shit tons of stand-up people like Bill Burr, Tom Segura, the sort of great American stand-ups that I'm a big fan of at the moment. But yeah, that's probably the main way I'm going to pass time over the coming weeks.
No, that's good. I mean, there's plenty on the sort of streaming services, like stand-up wise. Obviously, Netflix have their own specials, but now TV seems to have had an influx of them with the new Sky channel and everything. They've got Sky Comedy.
I haven't checked it out actually.
Yeah, you got a bunch of you got Bill Maher stand-ups. You've got oh crap, I'm trying to think of names. I went through it last night. I can't remember. There's loads on there. If you go on there, you'll see them. And I had Don Jameson on my show recently as well, who's American stand. You probably know American stand-up, but he's also very much into his like heavy metal as well.
So it's a good combination to have.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Well, guys, thank you very much for your time this evening. I really appreciate it. Good luck with everything you're doing. Obviously, everything's on pause, but everything else that you're doing on that front. Exactly. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of your evening, and I'm sure I'll see you guys on the road soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Cool.
See you again.
No worries, man. Have a good one.
Cheers. Yeah. Bye.